All right. So where did you spend your childhood? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Melrose.
Melrose, Massachusetts.
It's right up the road.
Oh,
Yes.
so
8
you were
miles
born-
north of Boston.
Okay. So you were raised in Melrose. You spent most of your childhood in Melrose.
Yes.
Yes.
Up
Okay.
until World War II started.
Okay.
And my father was in World War II.
Okay.
So, since he was in the Marine Corps, we moved to Quantico, Virginia first,
Okay.
and then to California,
All right.
and then he served in the Pacific
Wow.
and participated in the Iwo Jima battle.
Oh wow.
Got a Purple Heart there, and fortunately came back, and we moved back to Massachusetts.
Well, that's fortunate. So when were you born? You were born
1929, December 1929.
December 1929.
Mhm.
And when did you join the service? You joined
I became a cadet at West Point in 1948
in 1948.
after.
And what were you doing at the time prior to that? Prior to you joining?
I graduated from Melrose High School in 1947
Okay.
and the Brown and Nichols School in 1948. A year of postgraduate high school,
Uh-huh.
which was a good thing because I was only 17 when I graduated from high school.
Uh-huh. Now at that time were you living with your parents?
Yes.
And what did your parents think of you joining the military? Did they approve of it? Did they?
Yes.
Yes. They wanted to.
My father was a graduate of West Point.
Yeah. So that's good.
So he was very happy for me to follow in his footsteps.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Why did you choose the Army and what interested you in the Army as far as the branch of the service?
Well, since my father graduated from there and had been in the artillery
Uh-huh.
at the time of World War One, I just continued to follow those lines. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'd been at the top of my class, I probably would have gone into the engineers. That's where the top people went.
Uh-huh.
I was not quite that high, so I was an artilleryman
Uh-huh. Okay.
too.
So what you did your basic training at West Point, or what
Yes.
did you do at West Point?
Right.
Okay. Okay. Now, as far as your military occupation, your specialty was, what was it? Artillery.
Artillery.
Artillery. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Let's see. So you joined the service in 48.
48.
And
Graduated from West Point in 1952.
okay, so
I
you
became a
graduated.
second lieutenant at that point.
Okay.
Biggest demotion I got.
Uh huh.
From first classman at West Point to a second lieutenant
Okay.
in the Army.
Uh,
We call that a big demotion.
yeah.
But of course, Korean War was on by that time.
Uh huh.
So I served first in the United States because we still had in those days city defenses. And it was the Cold War too, you know.
Mhm.
And, the cities all had defenses against bomber attack at that time,
Wow.
the big cities.
So were you stationed?
So I was stationed in the defense of Philadelphia first,
Okay.
and then I was ordered to Korea, and I joined the 2nd Division Artillery in Korea,
Okay.
and I got there. I was lucky; they had just signed the armistice, so we did not have combat casualties while I was there, although I lost one man.
Do you want to get?
We can let the machine take it. We lost one man because he drove his truck into a stream to wash it, and a mine had come downstream somehow,
Mm-hmm.
and he happened to hit it. So that was the only casualty I had. That was one of the things that a commander of a small unit worries about the most, losing his soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And you write a letter, of course, to the family, stating the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
It's a painful thing to do.
Mm-hmm. So you actually had to write the letter, or?
Right.
Oh wow. Okay, so you got there after July of, because the,
1953,
Yes.
I got there in August, right.
okay. So you were in Korea, was it South Korea, you were in South Korea?
Right, I was on the line that they settled as the demilitarized zone line.
Okay.
And if the Chinese had come over the hill, why, we would have been in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But the armistice held.
Yeah. Alright,
So it was good duty from the point of view of commanding a small unit. I mean, I was a battery commander as a second lieutenant, and then again as a first lieutenant. An adjutant as a captain.
okay. Now, did you guys have many interactions or with the Koreans over there? Did you guys work with them, or how did
We
how
had
did that-
Korean employees. I did get to know a few of the Koreans.
Okay.
I felt that they are a very fierce tribe,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you have to respect the North Koreans today with that 500,000 man army.
Mm-hmm.
That's a powerful force.
Yeah. Okay. Now, when you were over, you served. How long did you serve? You served from. You were at the end of Korea, and did you see the?
I stayed in the service.
Okay.
Came home from Korea after 15 months.
Okay, so you're over there for 15 months.
I did get a chance to go to Japan. Happened to be there in cherry blossom time. Big culture shock, after the World War II experience where the Japanese were the terrible enemy and everything. The people in Japan, when I was there, were friendly, and the place was beautiful, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to see we're on good terms with them today. So then after that I went to various schools in the United States and was assigned to an exchange job with the British Army in 1963.
Okay.
That was a wonderful assignment. Most people in that period of time went to Europe, and I was lucky enough to be able to go to Britain. Served with the British Army, being the only American at the particular school where I was assigned, which was in Wales.
Okay.
And the British officer who was my counterpart was serving at Fort Bliss, Texas, at our artillery school there. This was anti-aircraft artillery at this point, and guided missiles were big. They were coming in, and I had been to school on it, and I was pretty close to being a fairly good speaker about all sorts of guided missiles.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a 3-year assignment, and we even extended 6 months so as to come home in the summer and get the schooling right for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they, at the conclusion of that assignment, gave me one of my most prized possessions, which is an honorary instructor in gunnery Royal Artillery,
Mm-hmm.
which I have actually over there on the corner. I can show you at some point.
Okay. Okay. Now, back to the Korean War, some might say that the Korean War was the forgotten war.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe this, or do you believe that it's a forgotten war? I mean, you were obviously over there. I don't know what.
It's certainly not forgotten to me.
Yeah, not to you, but as far as
Yeah,
people.
I think a lot of people did sort of forget about it.
Yeah.
And it was not unpopular because we were working under United Nations auspices.
Mm-hmm.
When we came back, they were welcoming for parades, that sort of thing. We weren't
Mm-hmm.
spat upon or considered
Yeah.
baby killers or anything like that.
Uh-huh. Okay. No, we never declared. That was just the UN, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Do you have any now Vietnam? You said that you served part at the beginning.
Came back from England in '66. Was at Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and then assigned to Vietnam for the year 1969. And by that time I was a lieutenant colonel, so I was on the staff of the advisory group in Saigon. And that meant traveling to various parts of the country and seeing how the younger advisors were doing with their Vietnamese counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
And that was certainly very interesting to do. We felt we were making very good progress training the Vietnamese forces.
Okay.
But it was just terribly slow, and people at home got tired of that particular war, as you must have learned from other people you've spoken to.
Yeah.
So the political aspect of it turned away from it, and they found a way to get us out of there a little bit too precipitously at the end, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But the Vietnamese people, I really felt, were a nice group of people. I kind of liked the people I met.
Mm-hmm.
So the country's beautiful too.
Yeah. So you actually worked directly with the people.
Right. I knew quite a few there.
And as far as were you in any combat or anything in Vietnam? Or?
Well, I flew around in helicopters a lot.
Okay.
And if they shot at me, they missed. That's all I can say.
Uh-huh. So you were being shot at in these helicopters, or you could?
I don't know. Chances were that possibly I was at some point, but.
Mm-hmm. So as far as any of your friends being killed in Vietnam, or do you have any casualties that you?
No, because I was on the advisory side. None of the people I was associated with were killed over there.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I don't even know of a classmate of mine that was killed over there.
Okay.
I don't think there was one. In Korea, it was a different story. I had a classmate who was a Medal of Honor recipient.
Medal. He was. Why did he receive that medal?
He was last seen in hand-to-hand combat with the Chinese forces when the Chinese retaliated against the United Nations forces and drove them back south.
Oh. So how did your service end with the army?
After coming back from Vietnam at the end of 1969, I was assigned to the Pentagon.
Okay.
I was on the general staff, working with the Army Operations Center. And at that point, I had the opportunity to find a unit that I could command, and I went and looked at it, and they just closed it. That was one in this country. I could have gone back to Korea, but I had chosen Vietnam instead of going back to Korea. So there really wasn't much for me at that point, and I was kind of interested in trying my hand in civilian life. So
Okay.
I just retired as a lieutenant colonel in 1973.
And as far as where did your career go after that, or what was your job after that? How was like getting back into the civilian life?
Yeah, it was a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
It was. I had a job because of my experience with the Army Operations Center computers, I was able to get a job fairly quickly with a company called Applied Data Research, which did consulting in the area of Washington. But as soon as they lost a contract, I had to be furloughed off from them. So I got another job, got that one with the Potomac Electric Power Company, and that was interesting. But that too didn't last too long. And my last job in the Washington area was with the Library of Congress, the Congressional Research Service. And that was a job I really enjoyed, look forward to going to every day. And I only left that when I was ready to move back here to Massachusetts.
Did you have any regrets as far as joining the military service at all?
No,
No?
you know, I was obviously one of the very lucky ones.
Mm-hmm. No regrets.
So it was a good experience for me all the way around, almost.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it was very rewarding.
Yeah. Now, would you recommend it to the younger generation, or how would you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone at an age of after high school or after college, I think everyone should do a stint of service with the government. It doesn't have to be in uniform. It could be something else. Peace Corps is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Something of that nature should be done. If they have a bent toward the military, fine. If they don't, one of these other things can apply, but do it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Do you have anything else you want to add? I mean, you've answered all my questions. I mean, I'm trying to think of some other ones. Now, were you married at the time you were in the service?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I'd gotten married in 1953.
Okay.
Yeah,
So right around the time that you were
yeah,
graduating from the West Point?
right, 1 year afterward. Yeah.
Oh.
So it's hard on the wives and families when the soldier is away,
Uh-huh.
no question about it. But certainly the majority are able to cope. Some aren't, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Now, what was the longest time that you actually spent away from
That was
your wife?
the 15 months of Korea.
To 15 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were newly married. Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh, that's great.
But in the center is the 2nd Division patch from Korea. The one on the left is the Army Air Defense Command, which is the organizations in the United States, and on the right, of course, is the Military Assistance Command, Vietnam.
Wow. That's great.